Going back to our engine example.
Okay.
The performance of a system, and this is a concept called constraint.
Okay.
The performance of a system, or the output of a system, is limited by the availability of a critical input. Okay, so going back to the engine example, if an engine is not there, car cannot be made. Car cannot be made, system shuts down.
So the engine is the constraint.
The engine is the constraint.
Got it.
Okay, so if the engine is the constraint, the best way to improve the performance of the system is to make sure you have enough engines.
Right.
Right? Okay. Now, there's actually a process that you can use to identify the constraint and make it better. Okay, and this is actually, for those of you reading along, there's an entire book called The Goal by Eli Goldratt that talks about this. And the general theme is what's called the theory of constraints. Okay, which basically says that in any system, there is one and always one single constraint. And if you can find it and eliminate it or alleviate it, then you'll make the system run better.
Cool.
And then when you eliminate it or alleviate it, the constraint moves to something else. So you focus on that other thing, and you can improve the system even more. And
so there's something else that was like the next slowest.
Exactly.
It doesn't really move.
Yeah. So there's a wonderful thing. I think this was Gerald Weinberg in Secrets of Consulting, which is also on the personal MBA reading list. Talks about when you solve your number one problem, number two gets a promotion. This is the theory of constraints. You solve your constraint, the constraint always moves someplace else. Okay.
Right.
So the question is, how do you do this? And Goldratt talks about, he calls it the 5 focusing steps. So these are questions you can ask yourself to find the constraint and then eliminate it. Okay, and the first is to identify the constraint. And usually this helps if you have, you're able to look at the system in some bigger picture, like a diagram or a description or whatever, and you notice that something is holding you back. So for example, we just can't make enough engines.
Got it.
To put into the car. That's what's slowing us down.
Right.
Okay. So we've identified our constraint. That's step 1. Okay. The next one is what Goldratt calls exploiting the constraint. Okay. Which is basically making sure that the resources that are designed to make engines aren't spending time making windshields, because windshields aren't as important.
Right.
Let's say the engine guy is going as fast as he can, but then he takes an hour and a half lunch.
Okay.
And engine production shuts down while he's gone. Okay? Exploiting the constraint would be making sure that engine guy is not working on windshields.
Oh, right.
And when he goes to lunch, somebody else is operating the engine machine.
Okay.
Right? Okay.
Yeah.
That's exploiting it. And you're basically just saying, are we getting as much out of this the resources that we have around this as we possibly could?
Okay.
If not, it actually costs very little to do this. Okay. So we just figure out how to use what we've already got better.
Got it.
Okay.
So you do this before you hire someone else.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So it would be very inefficient to just say, oh, we need to make more engines. Let's buy another engine machine, right?
Right.
Because you may be spending millions of dollars.
Right.
Where you may fix the problem just by replacing somebody when the engine guy goes to work. Or goes to lunch, right?
Okay, got it.
So that's why you try to get as much as you can out of that first.
Got it.
Okay. The third step is subordinating.
Okay.
Which basically means everything else in the entire system is less important than making this constraint run better. Okay. So let's say part of the problem and part of the reason why you can't make enough engines is because there's not enough space, and the windshield machinery is right next to it, and they have more space than they need. Okay. Subordination is basically saying to the windshield people, look, you're not the constraint here.
Right.
We're going to take some of your space and use it to engines because that's going to alleviate the constraint.
Got it.
Now, politically, this is sometimes very touchy because windshield people may not really like having their space taken away from them. So there's a little bit of the human side of this that needs to be dealt with too.
Yeah.
But if you think of it from making sure the system operates as well as it possibly can, it makes no sense for the windshield people to have extra capacity when what's holding you back is engines.
Okay, got it.
So you redesign the entire system around the engines.
Okay,
as much as you can. Because everything else, by definition, is less important.
Right.
Okay? Now, if all of those things don't work, that's when you say, if this is called elevation, you say, okay, we may need more equipment. We may need to hire more engine people. We may need to build a better machine. We may need to get another one.
Got it.
You're investing in expanding the capability
of that one piece.
Okay? And that, can alleviate the constraint. Like, if you just need another machine to make all these things that you're making, elevating or buying it can definitely help you.
Okay.
And you don't do that first because it's typically the most expensive.
Got it.
Okay? You do everything else. Now, then you basically check the system to see if
you have enough slack.
The constraint is still there.
Okay.
If it's still there, you probably need to do more of this stuff.
Okay.
If it's moved, then it doesn't matter if you continue to improve the engine department.
Oh, right. Now windshields are the slowest thing.
Exactly. So then you go and do the 5 focusing steps on the windshield stuff, because that's now what's holding you back.
Crap, they need their space back.
Right.
Okay.
So that is how you identify and actually alleviate a constraint.
Okay.
And sometimes, and this is actually something that Jason Fried and David Heinemeier Hansen talk about in Rework, which used to be Getting Real, which is also on the list.
Oh, that's right.
They talk about some constraints can actually be good. Okay, so not having an eternal amount of time, not having billions of dollars, which is seen as a limitation, which is also sometimes called a constraint. Okay? I could do this really awesome thing if only I had a budget of $15 million, right? The thing is, and the point that they made is, constraints like that typically are not what are holding you back. Okay, you can actually do something good, something that gets you most of the way there, within the amount of time you have and the amount of budget. It's mostly a matter of making choices. Okay, there's also an old proverb. I don't know where this comes from, but it's true. It says, "Those whom the gods wish to destroy, they give unlimited resources." Which you can also we talked about a little while back about Duke Nukem Forever.
Yeah.
They had unlimited time and unlimited resources, and it didn't really work out that well for them. So, it's some constraints, time, money, people, all of those things may not necessarily be a bad thing. But if you're looking at a constraint and you're trying to improve your entire system, the 5 focusing steps is how you do that.
Cool.